Hello everyone, today we're going to build a machine learning model using ChatGPT. We did this earlier in the week with Claude, so this is going to be a larger piece of a Claude versus ChatGPT series. So if you're interested in following along with that, make sure you subscribe and like this video so that you can just stay up to date with what I'm doing on my channel. So without further ado, let's dive into ChatGPT and let's see how it can build a machine learning model with us. Okay, so we're going to start off in ChatGPT. We're going to feed it the CSV. So I got this from Kaggle. It's just a BMI data set that essentially has gender, height, weight, and then it predicts a BMI index from 0 to 5. So it's a pretty simple data set, but just wanted to see what ChatGPT can do with it. So we're gonna ask ChatGPT, can I feed you a CSV, and we work on building a machine learning model together. Okay. So hopefully, okay, cool. We know what kind of once I have the file, can discuss the next steps, so on and so forth. Perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach the file. So bmi.csv. So perfect. I want to use this to be able to predict the BMI index column. Okay, cool. So just exactly what I said in the intro. That's what we want to do here. So it says, let's start by examining the contents of your CSV file. Load the data, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's great. So similar functionality between ChatGPT and Claude. It can take a look at the CSV and see what's going on there. So you can see we have gender, height, weight, and index. So it's telling us like data set has 500 rows, height and weight are numerical, gender's categorical, index is from 0 to 5, which is pretty cool. Let's see. So it says before we proceed with building a predictive model, we need to handle the categorical data, split the data set in the training and testing, and then choose a suitable model for classification since index is categorical. So it says, shall we continue with these steps, or is there anything specific you'd like to adjust or explore further? I like that. So I like that it's telling me what it's going to do before it does it, and it's asking me if I want to do anything before that. But I think that's exactly where we'd want to proceed with this. So continue on. Okay, so it's going to allow us to do that. I like the fact that, I can view the analysis as well, so it shows us what it did. So that's pretty cool. So it says blah, blah, blah. Start by encoding the gender column using one hot encoding, which will convert it into a format suitable for ML models. So that you're probably going to go 0 and 1, I would guess. That's what Claude did. So, and then it's going to split the data into training and testing, which it did a 20% training, 80% testing. I'm sorry, other way around. 80% training, 20% testing. So you can see it did the exact same thing here, 400 in the training, 100 in the testing. And the encoded gender categories are gender female and gender male. So interesting. I think this is going to be a little bit different than what Claude did. So let's see. So yeah, it's given us a kind of a binary yes or no in gender female and gender male. It's interesting. A little bit different than what Claude did. A little bit different than what I did, honestly. It just went 0 for 1 for gender, for male or female in the gender column. But okay, interesting. Let's see. So given the index has multiple categories, the relationship could be nonlinear. A model like random forest might be particularly effective due to its ability to handle nonlinearity and feature interaction. So I like the fact that it's like telling me like, hey, we think that random forest is going to be the way to go because of these reasons. I'm just going to tell it that sounds great. Move forward. Okay, and again, it's cool that you can click. It's telling you like the English language what's happening, but it also gives you the code on the back end if you want to see it. So it's going to train the random forest classifier on the training data. After training, we'll evaluate the model's performance on the testing set to see how well it predicts the BMI categories. So it's currently training that model using the 400 rows that it picked out earlier. So that's done. So it says the random forest model achieved an accuracy of 89%. That's pretty good for an ML model. Obviously, this is data from Kaggle, so like all the prefaces of this is clean data, blah blah blah. It's great, but good to know that we got some pretty good numbers here. So it says here's a detailed breakdown. So the model precision is 92% of the time. Recall, blah blah blah. The model had a recall of 100%. That's pretty good. And then taking a harmonic mean. This is okay, cool. Overall, the model performs well across different categories, though there's some variation in performance by category, which could be addressed by further tuning or by gathering more balanced data per category. So we obviously can't gather any more data because it's coming from Kaggle, but it's always a good step. Would you like to explore further improvements such as tuning the model parameters or applying other models for comparison, or perhaps you have other? Okay, I like that. So let's try to tune because we're at 89%. Let's try to tune the model parameters and see what happens. So again, like it's giving us all the options that we want. That's great. So if this doesn't get any better, then we can try other models too. That's what it tells us for the random forest. You can change the n estimators, max depth, min sample split, and then min samples leaf, which is pretty cool. So it's going to try to tune those and see if we can get anything better with those. So while it's doing that, grab a drink real quick. So take a look and see what happens out of that. So generally, it kind of chooses 3 or 4 values in those different those different parameters, and tries to tune based on that. Just kind of looping through the model. So again, we'll see if this gets above the 89%. Again, 89% is pretty good, so we can't complain about that anyway. But we always want to try to get better if we can, right? So you can see it's analyzing right now. But again, like up here, we can see this code if we want to get in there, which is, again, pretty cool. And again, like one of the advantages for using this over Claude is that this can actually run the code and then actually talk about what it's doing as it's running the code. Claude doesn't have the ability to run code yet. At some point in the future, this video will be out of date because Claude has to include that at some point, but it's not there yet. And that's a very, very big advantage for ChatGPT when working with code, right? Like very, very big advantage here. So you can see it's still analyzing. I don't know if we can click down and see what it's doing. So yeah, it's kind of looping through these different things. Well, I didn't mean to, looks like we blah, 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 given the situation. Simplify, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we'll do, we can simplify. So it said it failed. I think it might have been because I clicked it, let's be honest. We can simplify the parameter grid. Let it run again. Yeah, it might not have liked me clicking that. So, okay, so just simplifying some of the testing here. So it was testing. Excuse me. Well, I guess you can't even view that anymore because it died. But here we go. So we were testing 3 there. We had 4, 3, and 3. So I think we are going down to like 2. Yeah, 2, 3, and 2. I'm assuming there for some fewer options. Wow. So error analyzing again. It seems like we're facing. As an alternative. Focus on. Okay. So that's not great. That works. Continue. Okay. So it's saying that. Listen, I might have just jinxed it. I said that the reason why ChatGPT I think was better with coding is because it can run the code, but that only works if the code editor is actually running. But it's definitely not happening right now. So that's not great. Definitely making me definitely jinxing ChatGPT a little bit. So wow, it's error analyzing again here, huh? Appreciate you giving it. Okay. Would you like to proceed? Let's change. We can explore other models to see if there is a better fit. Okay, so ChatGPT is letting me down, but that's okay. So we're gonna go try to explore some other models. So remember earlier it gave us 2. We could either like try to hypertune our model that we already had, our random forest, or we could try other models. So it's suggesting logistic regression, SVMs, and KNN, so K nearest neighbor. So logistic regression is one of the better picks here, you would think. That's one that I've used in the past in a situation similar to this. So we're gonna take a look and see what. Wow, their code is just not working at all. So let's give it a refresh. Would you like to discuss these? Can you try again? Wow. So that I've never seen ChatGPT this happen to ChatGPT. So yeah, so seems we're still pressing interesting. So let's see if we're getting any issues here. So ChatGPT, it's not saying there's anything going on today, but it says there's something with ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, but that's not where we are. So we'll take a pause and we'll come back. Hopefully, whenever this is up and running. So we'll take a pause real quick and we'll come back. All right, so jumping back in here. So I could never get the process we were running before back up and running. Like ChatGPT just said, like, no. So I did the old best troubleshooting that you can do, which is just basically restarting it. So that's what I did. So restarted the process again. And this time it actually started us off with a logistic regression model instead of the random forest. So I think that's fine. So you can see what's happened here with that. It's done the things, encoded the gender female, gender male, same thing, split it up. So we're into our logistic regression model to classify the BMI. Moving on here. Okay, so logistic regression model achieved accuracy of 83%. Here's a breakdown. So, okay, there's our confusion matrix. So on and so forth here. There's our classification report. So similar to what we got before with the random forest, but this is with logistic regression. So it says, given the results, these are a few paths we might consider. So here is how it's trying to make this model better. So we're going to let it, let's explore those options. Okay, so this is where it erred out last time. So hopefully it's going to continue on here. So it's going to increase the number of iterations, scale the data, and then experiment with other models. So hopefully it's going to get us back to our random forest, but let's see what happens here. So hopefully this is going to get us back and this is going to run this time. But again, I mean, it is an advantage for ChatGPT that it can run code, but if it doesn't run the code, I think it's in similar shape for what Claude can offer. So I think that's its big competitive advantage is having that code actually running in the platform. It's not running, that advantage dies, right? So, okay, looks like it's running this time. So after scaling the features and increasing the number of iterations, the performance of the logistic regression model has improved from 92% to 83%. So that's what we had before with the random forest model. So that's pretty good. So, it's giving us our confusion matrix here. This is not a confusion matrix dive-in session here. We're going to let ChatGPT just kind of handle this stuff because that's kind of the point here. Precision, recall, and F1 score have all seen improvements. So we're doing good things here. So would you like to proceed with testing these models, or is there any other specific? Okay, so I want to try the random forest. So I think a random forest model could be better. Could we try that? So we're going to try to just get it back to where it was before. So it's going to train that model and spit it out. Hopefully we're going to be able to tune it and it not break this time. We're going to see. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. Train it on the same scale data. So it's going to train this on the scale data this time versus the original data. So a little bit different, but pretty much in the same spot to where we were. So let's see what the performance looks like for this. So currently analyzing. I'm going to grab me a drink while it's analyzing. Okay, so it achieved an accuracy of 88%. So it's giving us that confusion matrix again, which is great. So less good accuracy with the scale data, which is interesting. So we're going to try to let it tune it and see if we can get better. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, 4 and 5, not great there. Continuing on with the classification report, giving us the precision, recall, and F1 score. Yeah, logistic regression had the higher accuracy, obviously. Let's see. So let's try to tune the random forest model. Okay, so again, we're now back exactly where we were before whenever this broke. So let's see if it'll actually allow us to run this, tune this. If not, we're just going to continue on with that logistic regression model because we got 92%. That's pretty good. So we'll start with a reasonable range to keep the computational cost manageable. We'll see about that. So analyzing again. Hopefully we don't get an error. We're just hoping we don't get an error here. Just want to see what happens if it actually finishes. And again, like I said before, you can click on any of these and copy that code out. There's no reason for us to do that because it's running that code for us, which is great. So at the end, if we wanted to actually get this thing to be in like an actual production environment, we could just ask for the full code and it's going to spit it out to us, which is really neat. So again, just another good advantage from what we're getting in Claude is that this can actually run and actually test things as it's going, which is really cool. So finishing up analyzing here. We haven't got an error yet, so still crossing our fingers that this actually still runs. I don't want to speak too soon and say it's going to finish, but it's looking promising. It's looking promising. So, but yeah, I mean, this is probably the most intensive I've given ChatGPT. Like actually, like hyper tuning this model it's giving it a hard time. So the time, and I'm using ChatGPT 4, and I pay for the Pro membership, so it's the best version of this, and it's giving it a hard time. So that's just something to note. Like if you had a bigger set of data that's not just 500 rows, this could probably struggle. Like if you had like a data set that was 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 rows, like this probably doesn't run. So it's just something good to note that yes, this does run, but like there's obviously limits to it that we're kind of running into here with the 500 row data set, which is not that big. Like you're going to be running on more data in production for sure. So maybe you pull out a sample. Maybe that's the play to go with ChatGPT. But anyways, we'll let y'all explore that on your own for sure. So still analyzing here. This is just like an NBA basketball game. That last little bit takes exponentially longer than the rest of the game, right? Like that last 1 or 2 minutes of the fourth quarter take like 3 hours compared to the rest of the game. It's craziness. So that's ChatGPT is channeling its inner NBA star and taking a long time to finish this thing up at the end. But again, we haven't errored out yet, so hopefully that means that it's gonna actually finish. So we'll wait on it for just a second and let it finish up, and then we'll jump back in. All right, so jumping back in here, we can't hypertune in ChatGPT. It's a limitation we found. That's fine. We're okay with that. I'm just going to cancel it this time. I don't want it to run. Let's continue with the linear regression model. Or I'm sorry, not linear. I'm not teaching out for one anymore. Logistic regression model. Okay, so that's great. So focusing on seems like okay. We've already done this. That's fine. Since we've already blah blah blah. Would you like to explore let's start. Can you help me use this model to predict? Yeah. So that's the whole point of building one of these models is to predict. So we're going to transition from building that model into using it to predict. So to use the logistic model for predictions, blah, 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 you're going to need some new data. So obviously our height, weight, and gender, which the gender would have to be encoded in the same way, which was that 2 columns. Feel free to provide, okay, running with your examples. So they gave us a male that's 170 kilograms and 70 centimeters height. Maybe might not be centimeters. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So on and so forth. I got them mixed up. So height is 170, weight is 70. I was going to say 170 kilograms would be a bit of an extreme example to start off with, but it gave us a male and a female example here. So it's going to run with those examples and use the model that we created to predict the BMI. And it says it seems there was an unexpected error. Let's retry the prediction process. Huh. Wow. I don't know if ChatGPT is just having a bad day or not, but this usually works. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it to feed us since it's not working. Again, this is a cloud-based system here, so it's not always going to work like we want it to. So what I am going to try to do is try to get to the point where we can use it still. So I'm going to try to get it to feed me the code all the way through that I can put into a notebook and actually run it on our own. So let's see. So I would like to try the predictions. If I can spell on my end. Can you provide me the code to create the model and predict? So we'll just try to get to just spit this code out at us. And we're going to run this on our end. So you obviously got to have NumPy, Pandas, and scikit-learn. So I'm going to go in here and make sure that we have those installed. Uh, so pip install. I know it has NumPy and Pandas already installed with Hext, but we might not have scikit-learn. So let's try to run. I bet it does though, if I had to guess. If you're new to Hex, I think we gotta put an exclamation mark here. Sorry, there we go. You can go to environments in here, and you can see. Yeah, so we already have scikit-learn, so we already have everything installed that we need, which is great. So it's going to spit this code out for us, which is really great. So even if it's not working like we want it to, it is going to allow us to just run this code on our end. So we're going to copy this code, and we're just going to see what happens on our end. So perfect. Going to paste in there. We already have our bmi.csv in our files here. bmi.csv, it's going to do all the stuff. There's our prediction. Let's let it run and see what happens here. So running this in Hex now. 2 and 2. Okay, so it predict that was quick. A little bit quicker in Hex than it is in ChatGPT. So it did predict there. So let's say it gave us an index of 2 for both. Let's see if I can increase this weight to like 120 for the male and see if that changes anything. So that should increase the BMI index for sure. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so it went up to a 5. Okay, it's running as expected. So just kind of in conclusion here, ChatGPT does a great job whenever it works properly, right? So it's going to run the code for you. It's going to ask you for feedback, kind of tell you what it's doing behind the scenes, and allow you to kind of guide the process with some guardrails, right? Which I think is really exciting, especially for people that are new to this space, or even if you're not. Like, it's great to just have something guide you through and talk you through things. So that's great. So the problem is if it doesn't run, it loses that functionality, which I think is its biggest competitive advantage over Claude at this moment. So, I guess in closing here, I think ChatGPT is better at like generating code, especially for like machine learning models and things like that, just because on the simple fact that it can run its own code. I think that's a big competitive advantage. So if I had to choose one of these two tools to generate code, I would definitely choose ChatGPT. So yeah, that'll end this one. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see y'all in the next one.